You saw it, didn't you? As she muttered this to me, I awkwardly but honestly nodded. After all, there's nothing to be done about what I'd accidentally seen, the image of her that was spinning in my mind, refusing to leave. Yeah, what I had unintentionally seen while I was heavily drunk was. My name is Steve Patterson. I'm just a typical office worker. I was leading a moderately enjoyable life until today when things became a little out of the ordinary. I'm on a company trip. We're staying at this old but charming inn, complete with a hot spring and clean rooms. It's pretty awesome. Our company isn't that big, only about 20 people, but this year we'd performed particularly well, so they decided to give us nice accommodations. 2 male staff share a room and female staff got a single room. There aren't many female staff, and it's probably a special treat for our top performer, Catherine. Catherine is a stunning top saleswoman. Despite being my coworker, she is nothing like me. She is excellent and kind, like a goddess. As you might imagine, she was surrounded by the boss and department manager during the banquet at our trip. The boss and manager were clearly smitten with the hostess. Amidst all this, my gaze was directed at Catherine. Catherine, we have high hopes for you this year. You're our company's ace. Thank you. While watching her smile from afar, I sipped my drink. Even if it's pathetic, the thought of an average Joe like me drinking with Catherine felt audacious. As I was drinking like this, I ended up drinking more than I thought. The bosses were having a great time with the hostesses, and their boorish laughter echoed throughout the banquet hall. The female staff had returned to their rooms early because it was getting late, so it seemed like the bosses were having their fun time. Feeling dizzy from drinking too much, I made my exit in a hurry. My room was, although this was a traditional inn, unusually like a hotel, it had names and numbers on each room. Apparently, they used to have just names, but they started adding numbers to make it easier as they had more guests. Thanks to such efforts, this bed and breakfast has a long history as an established business. I looked at my room number. 30. There it is. The inn didn't have an auto lock, so I didn't need to bother unlocking the door. Also, as I had a habit of carrying all my valuables with me, I didn't lock my door since I didn't leave anything valuable in the room. I opened the door with a creak, took off my shoes, and opened the sliding door. But, for some reason, Catherine was in the room. The moment I saw it, my drunkenness instantly sobered, and I closed the door. Whoa, sorry, wrong room, oops. Even though I had sobered up, I was still staggering, and I stumbled on the threshold of the entrance and fell spectacularly. Wait, are you okay? Catherine tried to ask in a flustered manner, but she couldn't say anything. The scene was spinning in my head. She had a glamorous and fit body. Her skin was translucent white. I saw things in my head that I shouldn't have seen, yet they kept appearing over and over again. But then, I remembered the big bruise on her side. That bruise, I felt like I'd seen it somewhere. Even as I thought about this, perhaps because I was too drunk, I fell asleep right there at the entrance. A few hours later, I was prostrating myself before Catherine. It was to be expected. If Catherine made a complaint, there was no chance I would win. My life was to be decided by Catherine's forgiveness. Although Catherine looked displeased, she said, "You were really drunk, so I'll forgive you this time, but don't drink that much anymore." I'm sorry. Actually, it was quite embarrassing, but Catherine had put me to bed in her room after I fell asleep on the spot. I have shown her a pathetic sight, and my pride was completely crushed. No matter how kind a goddess she is, it's only natural that she would be disgusted by my series of actions. Just as I had prepared myself for this, she finally opened her mouth. Aren't you going to say anything? Heh. Her usual confident smile was nowhere to be found. She seemed a bit down, lacking confidence. From my perspective as a man, I had been shown a captivating scene, and I was actually thankful for it. As I was considering my words carefully to avoid causing a big problem, she murmured, "You saw the bruise, didn't you?" I saw it, but what about it? Doesn't it disappoint you? Everyone says so. If only it weren't for that bruise, I'd be perfect. I did see the bruise, but the impact of the other pots was too strong, and I didn't think that bruise was something I needed to worry about. I don't think there's such a thing as a perfect person. It's kind of like your trademark, and it's cool. I inadvertently blurted out those words. Then, she widened her eyes in surprise. At the same time, I felt a sense of déjà vu. Had I said this line somewhere before? "You're really different, Steve. You're the second person to say that to me." "Oh, was it your boyfriend? Isn't it well known in the office that I'm single? Are you being sarcastic?" "I was told that by a classmate in elementary school. Well, I've transferred to another school due to my parents' circumstances, so I haven't seen him in a while." Upon hearing her say this, I exclaimed, "Ah, it's a distant memory, but there was a girl with a bruise in my class. I think it was around the 2nd grade. During gym class, while changing, one of the boys said to her, 'What's that black spot? So gross.' A few boys joined in the mockery, and she ended up crying. I remember saying the same thing to her. She ended up moving away, and I can't even remember her name anymore. Could it be Catherine?" Wasn't your elementary school before you moved? Maplewood Elementary." Yes, but how do you know that, Steve?" "Yeah, I just remembered that there was a girl in my class who had a birthmark like yours. You moved away before we went to the 4th grade, right?" "Yes, that's right." "Wait, Steve, were you the boy from back then?" It turns out, Catherine and I had attended the same elementary school. Catherine's parents divorced at the time, and she moved with her mother, changing her last name to her current one. I never thought I'd reunite with her as a coworker at the same company. But you remembered me after seeing me undressed. That's kind of awkward. I'm sorry about that." "It's fine, but we should probably head back to our rooms. It's late." I was feeling better, so I apologized to Catherine once more before heading back to my room. A month later, Catherine and I had gone close enough to have tea together occasionally. That's because Catherine had become a little comfortable with me, as I didn't get disappointed seeing her birthmark. We'd have tea, and sometimes even a drink or two. When we did, it was almost always time for Catherine's ranting session. "Why does nobody value you?" "Because I'm just not that good." "What are you talking about? You quietly handle administrative tasks and help others without anyone noticing. You need to assert yourself more." Catherine's complaints were mostly about my job evaluation. "I'm simply doing what I think will make everyone's job easier, nothing more." Catherine insists that it's incredible, but I think it's an overstatement. When I say so, Catherine always pouts. Seeing her like that was kind of cute, and I thought our relationship would continue like this forever. But then an incident occurred that marked the end of this relationship. Catherine said she was going to meet a client, and then all contact with her was cut off. Our company deals with dyeing, and Catherine was supposed to be visiting a factory in the countryside today, but she hasn't returned to the office for hours. No one can get in touch with Catherine, and the factory says she came for a visit and then left. Even when the work hours ended, Catherine hadn't come back, and her mother, who is her emergency contact, also didn't know where she was. I was supposed to be done for the day, but it was hard to believe that the Catherine would go somewhere without reporting to the office. I decided